Welcome to the high school football forecast on the Acadiana postgame show. This is the week 6 edition, and I'm your host, Greg Larnard. All right, let's take a look back at last week, week number 5, and a player of the week from last week. I know last week we did a team of the week. This week we're going back to a player of the week. Josh Jones, running back from Berwick. He was exceptional last Friday. He had 30 carries for 419 yards. He had 2 catches, 50 yards as well. Also racked up 4 touchdowns, 1 of 45 yards, 1 of 72 yards, 1 of 73 yards, and the topper, 1 that was 78 yards. It was incredible. And they also got a win over Ascension Episcopal, 38-24 to boot. And if you want to look at Berwick's offense as a whole, they got 575 yards of total offense. Jones had 467 of those yards. Absolutely incredible week for Josh Jones. He is our player of the week. All right, now it's time for our games of the week. Game number 1, Crowley versus Iona. Crowley 3-2 on the year, Iona 5-0. This was a close matchup in 2017. Crowley was outlasted by Iona 20-16. Crowley this year, they're coming off a hard-fought win versus Northwest. Last week, the defense, they've struggled over their last 3 games. However, they've given up 38 points per game, but the offense, now they can score. They've averaged 32 points per game on the season. Iona, on the other hand, they haven't really faced much stiff competition this season, so this is going to be their first true test in the year. You know, obviously they've had 5 wins to start the season, so this is going to be a tough one against Crowley. Their offense can also put up points on the board. They've averaged 40 points per game, so this should be an interesting one between Crowley and Iona. All right, let's take a look at game number 2. New Iberia versus Lafayette. Both teams coming into this matchup 1-4, but I wanted to talk about these teams because, like I mentioned in previous episodes of the football forecast, sometimes these type of games can be the better ones. Both teams are struggling at the moment. New Iberia beat Lafayette last year 35-19. Lafayette beat Patterson earlier this season for their first win of the year and narrowly lost to Sulphur last week. New Iberia, they've been winless until last week when they got a win over LaGrange. And last but certainly not least, our game between Teurlings and Rayne. It's our game of the week on KPEL 96.5, KPEL965.com, and the KPEL 96.5 News app. Teurlings 2-3. They came off 2 wins to open the season and then had to run the gauntlet of a very tough stretch there with 3 very hard games. So they're 2-3. Rayne 2-3 as well. Teurlings, as I mentioned, the worst is behind them for now until they play STM next week. But they've got Rayne this week, and the defense has been phenomenal for Teurlings. That's something that they've really been able to rely upon as Samuel LeBlanc, the quarterback, and Landon Trosclair lead things offensively. Rayne 2-3, but they've really only got 1 true win on the season because their first game of the year, a matchup against Welsh, Welsh had to forfeit due to some violations. So they're 2-3, but they could easily be 1-4 at this point. They're having a little bit of a down year, and they're trying to avenge a 34-26 loss to Teurlings last season. That's going to do it on our high school football forecast here in week number 6 on the Acadiana postgame show. I'm your host, Greg Larnard.